Scott, how are we doing, brother? How are you?
I'm doing really good, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Mm.
So, folks, it is 2023, Anxious Lad episode 11. And joining me tonight is Scott Johnson, the creator of the Proper Blokes Club, coming to you straight out of London. Absolute
Yeah,
pleasure to have you on, buddy. Absolute pleasure.
that's great. It's great to be on, and it's great this medium. We can talk across the smaller pond, as it was.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny, had I set it up a few years ago, we could have done a face to face from when I was living in London. But um,
Soon, but there'll definitely be something soon, I reckon, mate.
I'll have to tip back across and go on one of the walks with you, mate. Absolutely.
Definitely more than welcome.
So look, we've had a couple of chats. We've texts and emails and messages and conversations and voice notes and every other kind of medium gone back and forth over the last couple of weeks. I guess look, tell us what the Proper Blokes Club is. Tell us where it came from. Tell us your story, pal.
Yeah, so basically, the Proper Blokes Club itself was set up in September 2020, obviously when the world was pretty much upside down or coming at the sort of end of it.
Yeah.
And it was an idea that I had shelved for a long time with some of the issues that I had previously, which inspired me, I guess, to start the group up in the first place. But I've couldn't start it up because of too much work commitments. I just didn't have the time and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
once COVID came, I lost all my work. So I was I was a football coach, and obviously that's face to face and working with kids and adults and stuff like that. So it all came to an end. Then I just sort of played around with ideas how I could help other dads, because that's where my background is in terms of what made me start the group and what made me feel those feelings in the past, what started them anyway, what triggered them. Um, and I just basically started a Facebook page. I thought it was the easiest way to do it, just do a Facebook page. I'll go out and walk, do some videos of me walking about, talking about problems and stuff that I've had in the past, see if anyone can relate to it. Um, and yeah, it seemed to take off quite well from there, really. Just in terms of building a bit of a following on social media, and
Mhm.
I was getting messages from lads saying they can resonate with it, and it's sort of helping them out in a way, I guess. And then basically we had a gap in lockdowns where we could meet other people, and I put it out to a local Facebook group, like a community group that's where I am in Rotherhithe, or Southwark in London, and I thought there was going to be a crusade of there's going to be thousands of men coming down because we all want to do the right thing and start talking
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And I was standing there at HMS Belfast where we meet, and 5 minutes go past the meet time. I thought, oh, no one's going to turn up, and one lad came up, and I was like, "Hello, I'm Scott. I'm Jack. Nice to meet you." And I was a bit at that time. I was very much. I thought, all right, because I built it up so high, and then one
Yeah,
person
yeah.
come. I thought, oh, for God's sake, do you know what I mean? Like, this is going to go tits up in it, or it's not going to work, is
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
And
yeah.
we just started walking, started having a chat, and then it must have been about like I ain't lying when I say it, probably 5 or 6 hours later. Bear in mind the walk's only about an hour and a half.
Mm.
If you do it slowly, it must be about 5 or 6 hours later. We were just chatting away. We got to the end of where the walk is, which is probably about 3 miles, and there's a pub at the end, near where it ends, and we were both like deep in conversation. And we both sort of looked at it and said, "Well, I'd fancy going in there. I'd like to carry on the social aspect of it," because we still had a lot to talk about. Like it was really, I felt a lot lighter after the conversation.
Yeah,
Everything just
yeah.
came off, and then we done the first ever picture in the pub. Me and him posted it up on social media the next day saying what we're doing, and then two new lads come the following week, two more, and now roll forward 2 and a bit years later, we're in 5 London boroughs. We've got 7 walks a week, 200 plus lads within the groups. We get on average between 60 and 80 maybe per week on the walks. Physically come down to them. And this year we're planning on doubling our growth in terms of how many walks we have and how many areas we're in, so we can it surely be double the numbers by the end of this year. So we're going for a big push this year because it seems everywhere we go, there's a need for it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
for
taken
sure.
off pretty much everywhere. There's been a couple of areas where we've tried out and I've not done enough research and it's not worked out, but but I'll say 90% of the stuff we do, it ends up working, and we get a solid group of lads down, and we sort of build on it, and it's gone a lot further than just what I originally wanted in terms of a small group around my area, just talking about being a dad and anyone that's had sort of access issues and things like that, to everything, absolutely everything, depression, anxiety, stress, bipolar, work-related issues, family, friends, whatever it may be. It's we've got a whole catalogue of stuff that's happening, but we've all come together for a common goal. And no matter what you do for work or how much you earn or whatever it may be, young or old, we're proving that everyone can mix together and have a mutual ground and build solid friendships around it and get talking.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the thing. Like, so I noticed, just as you're going to touch on there, regardless of the age, demographic, whatever. I noticed in one of the pictures that went up last night, there was, I think there was 10 or 12. I think it was the Finchley Walk. There was a good group of lads anyway. There was there was over 10 or 12, I think, and you could see the varying age groups. You could see there was looked like there was guys. Now I don't want to insult any of them, but it looked like there was a couple of guys that were above 50 anyway. Say, a couple of guys in their 20s. There was a lad who wasn't there a baby bloke that went out last night.
So we had that's the youngest ever member, 3 months old.
Start
on young prevention.
That's it. So he takes the kid out for a walk. It has to be done. One lad brought a 4-legged bloke. There was the dog with him.
There was another dog in the background as well. We had 2.
Was there? Yeah.
2 dogs that I was hiding.
But that's what I love about it. That's what I think is incredible about it, right? You've just got, let's say there was 12, 15 of these blokes last night at Finchley Central outside the tube station, and I know that tube station well, because I lived in northeast London. And to kind of see the different ages, the different demographics, you could see that there was a buzz about them in that photo. Do you know what I mean? They all have their hats and scarves and their jackets up, but there's a big beaming smile off all of these blokes at the end of the walk. And I think I said this to you before. I think it was just before or just after Christmas. There was a pie and mash night. A couple of guys went on just before Christmas. There was a couple of Christmas drinks. And as you say, it's not just getting lads out and having a chat or having a conversation or just going for a walk or whatever. You're building a community here really as well, aren't you? With all these guys. There's lifelong friends. One of them, I think, was best man at the wedding, you said. So there's a lot of strong friendships being built, I think, from this, from a common area, a common goal with all of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's sort of a byproduct of what we do, really. I guess when we originally set up, I never thought I would make extremely close friends for life by making this group. I was very much in the mindset of, I'll start this little group around my area. I'll build up a couple of friends and maybe help those guys out, and we'll just get on with the rest of our life after COVID. But now I've made lads that I can't imagine not having in my life now. But shout out to James and Dan, and a few other lads to mention a few, but like they're like our rocks in a sense. You know what I mean? Like so we have WhatsApp groups. So just to put in a bit of context, we have WhatsApp groups for each area that we do the walks in. So what we're trying to do is trying to replicate that sort of environment on the walk, but you can have it all the time. So if you have something, if you do the walk on a Tuesday, like say for instance the Finchley group, for an example, if there's no problems, nothing to report, you're just coming down for a walk and helping out your fellow man. And then Wednesday, a really bad day at work happens. You don't have to wait till Tuesday to tell the lads. You can just put that in the group. You can rant away, and we could talk then. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of lads have done subgroups from that. So we get closer to certain people than others, but we're a friendly bunch. So talking to James and Dan, for an example, as well, from the Southwark group, who I've become really close with, every day we do our own private check-ins anyway. Like if there's a day where I don't message, they'll probably message each other saying, you heard from him, like what's happening? So every single day, even if it's just morning or how's your day doing, or you all right, do you know what I mean? And just a thumbs up back, or yeah, I'm all right, or you might go a little bit in depth, but we're actually making friends for life from this. And like you said, people have done stuff like gone to some of the lads' weddings and things like that. And like my group, the Southwark group, the main one, the original group, a lot of us had kids the same age. So now those kids have met. We go out as like little daddy and kids groups. Do you know what I mean?
Deadly.
It's really good because I like to see. Especially with the father part at the beginning when I started the group. That's quite close to me. That one. So it's really nice seeing fathers and sons or fathers and daughters at a young age really building that solid bond together. Because I think traditionally the father might be out of the house majority of the time, and then they're very much mothered in the sense. If you're talking to traditional sense, probably not as much no more. But it's great to see those times and those memories being created.
Yeah,
and for the group.
Yeah, and I think as well, like from a leadership perspective, right, as being dads, mums, whatever in the family, right? I think traditionally you may not have seen your own dad talk about mental health or be open about talking or displaying kind of those mindfulness or wellness characteristics or whatever, right? Certainly my generation didn't see that from our parents' side. And I think what you're doing is obviously showing the kids even at a very young age that this is important. This is what you have to do. You have to talk about it. You have to get out. You have to make friends. You have to talk about your mental health. Just get it off your chest, kind of thing. So you're kind of setting them up as well for the future, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, well, I think we're asking our questions. We're asking our kids different questions now. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like my dad's been in my life probably I could count the amount of days on my hands. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't really have it, but I can't imagine. Like I talked to a lot of lads about it, and they never had these conversations with their dads. It was very much, all right, lad, don't worry about it, move. Like or he'd be sitting quietly after his 13-hour shift doing whatever with a can of beer in his hand, that boy, and that's it. But now we're sitting down having actual conversations with our kids. We're asking them, how's their day been? Majority of the time, you're going to get it was okay. And that was it. You won't get much back from them, but at least you're asking the right questions, and eventually you'll break them down, and then you might end up having a 10-minute conversation with a kid, and they're expressing their emotions from that day. They're saying, "Yeah, well, it's all right, Dad. It might have been a bit of a rubbish day," and then all of a sudden, that's it. You broke them. You've got in there now. Do you know what I mean? They're trusting you. They're opening up, and hopefully, what you'll find in the next generation of kids, there'll be a lot less of suicide and things like that because they feel they have to hold things in. They can now talk about stuff. I mean, we're normalizing that conversation a lot more.
And I think that's the big thing, isn't it? It's just, as you said, like you may get the one word answers, I'm fine. Certainly when you hit teenage years anyway, you're okay, I'm fine. I'm grand, but if you're persistent about it and you constantly ask those questions and you kind of, as you say, you normalize that conversation around the dinner table or in the house. How are you? How are you? How are you doing? And you just keep at, you're going to get, as you say, you're going to get a response sooner or later. And I think that then becomes easier for them to, I guess, trust in a way that they can talk about it, that they can open up. Because we've all been through it, haven't we? We've all been in that stage where it's like nobody wants to listen to me. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's your own family or your wife, your husband, whoever. But I think we all have people around us. Somebody will listen if you want to talk. Do you know what I mean? As you say, trying to normalize that conversation and break that stigma, and the next generation coming through, hopefully it'll be a hell of a lot easier for them to.
And we're creating these, I think the idea is just creating a safe environment where you're not going to be judged. That's the basis of all of our groups and what we do. And I think if we create those environments in home, workplace, down the pub with your mate, wherever it may be, do you know what I mean? Once they know they're in a safe place and they won't be judged, a lot more people will open up and talk.
Yeah, for sure. So bring me back prior to COVID, right? So it was always a bit of an idea you had to set up the Proper Blokes Club, and we'll get on to, I guess, the bigger plans of it, because there are bigger plans coming down the line. What was the turning point, I guess, for you? Like you said, it was a bit of an idea you kind of had. I know it started out as almost like a personal blog at the beginning, but what I guess the question is, what made Scott decide, you know what, this is what I'm going to do? Like, what was it in you that said, I need to do this?
Yeah, so I would have to rewind quite a bit, sort of when it started with me, because I must have been 25. I just come back, or sort of between 23, 25, I guess. Just come back from the States. Got the real travel bug. I went out there coaching for a year, loved it. The idea was the following year I was gonna move back out there or go somewhere else and do some more coaching. I met somebody, young and stupid and whatnot. And then all of a sudden I had the message, I'm pregnant, and
Okay.
I had a weird out of body experience with me shouting at me for a moment, saying, "What's an idiot? What have you done?" and then yeah, and then I just had to deal with that for a moment, and the relationship was wrong for both of us. So I decided to end the relationship on the basis that hopefully we could be extremely civil and bring up our daughter the right way, create a safe, good environment for her. She wasn't in the right place to sort of deal with that information, which looking back in hindsight is probably understandable. But yeah, and that started a spiral of in and out of court for years, trying to get access. In the meantime, I ended up in my sort of days where I wasn't the normal Scott. I was a sort of a shell of myself, really, and I was starved of maybe some affection or telling me positive things about me. I met my second ex-partner now, and we had two kids. And I was adamant, although I knew the relationship wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't particularly want to be with her in the end. But I was going to stay with her for the sake of the children because I couldn't go back through the court system again. Although we were going through it currently at the time, I was in and out of court. I was seeing her for a little bit, then not, and yeah, I heard the right words from her at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was loved and cared for and whatnot, and I can't believe she's doing this, blah blah blah, sort of thing. Looking back in hindsight, and yeah, I eventually got the courage to say no, that's enough of this, and then it was all started over again. So yeah, so about 10 years in and out of court, seeing them, not seeing them, seeing them, not seeing, back in, accusations proved false, back seeing them again. It was just non-stop, and going in and out of the court system with somebody saying lots of stuff about you that isn't true. Eventually, you start questioning yourself because you start saying, "Am I this person they're making out?" And it's not until when you talk to people that are a bit more close to you and that you realise you're not. And looking back in hindsight, mentally I wasn't in any stable condition at all. I eventually sort of just left my work. I was there physically, but mentally I was just sort of floating around and I was just in no man's land. Didn't really want to be there anymore. It's difficult for me to say, have I ever felt, did I get to a point of feeling suicidal or anything? There was times when I said, I've had enough. And there was times where I said, this needs to end and I need to get out of this and I need to go. But it manifested itself in different ways in my head. Whether that ever crossed my mind at some point, potentially, but it was more pack the bag and run away, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Yeah, but it
was almost like just get me out of this situation, like.
Yeah, because I needed to get away. I felt trapped. I was just like, I thought like the kids don't even want to see me. I'm being told I'm this, that, the other. And whether if I would have gone through and done that and I would have gone, I don't know where that would have ended. So I had enough of being in that scenario. Whether that would have manifested in something worse, I don't know. But I've touched wood, and I'm really thankful that I got into a position which not enough lads do, I don't think. I got into a point where I said, enough's enough now. I can't keep feeling like this. I need to do something about it. And I went straight online. I Googled NHS sort of counselling services and stuff like that to see what I get, because I didn't have no money at the time. So I always thought counselling was for rich people and you had to have lots of money. And thankfully, they had a service on there. I've done 8 sessions of CBT therapy with the NHS, which was great, which were really, really good. The CBT therapy itself, the activities they wanted me to do, in hindsight, wasn't probably for me. But what I took away from it is I was talking to somebody that I didn't know in a non-judgmental, safe environment. And and it was amazing. The feeling I felt after coming out of those sessions was like walking on cloud nine. All my problems were obviously there, but like they felt manageable. They felt far enough away.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cloud over me, and I felt like I could do this. Do you know what I mean? But then 2-3 days later, I would dip back into the old, because it's 1 a week. Do you know what I mean? So by the time you get round to your second session, you feel like shit again, and you go through the same process.
But it's such a massive learning curve. Like I think it's the first maybe or the second episode. I think I talk about it in. I kind of use the physio analogy, right? The doctor and the physio analogy with mental health, right? So if you injure yourself on a football pitch, you go to the doctor and he might be able to give you painkillers, but realistically, you have to go and see a physio. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like going to the doctor and being prescribed SSRIs or antidepressants or whatever. They can mask it a little bit and they can help in the interim, but realistically, the therapist is where the work is going to be done. But even at that, the therapist can only do so much. The real work is done when you leave the session and you're trying to process everything that you're talking about. Exactly. You're trying to learn those new skills and learn those coping mechanisms and learn what your triggers are. As you say, after the first, second, third session, you still find yourself dipping, and then all of a sudden it kind of clicks and you start to recognize it and you come back out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And then I've tried to find ways to manage it on a daily basis. Now that was the one, because I wanted to feel like I did after that session all the time. Like I want to bottle it up, and just when I feel rubbish, take a zip, and then I'm back in the game again. But I've done something that probably not all people should do. I use Google to find ways to make yourself feel better, and some crazy suggestions on there. But exercise was one of the biggest things. I'm a big advocate of exercise. Physical and mental health have to be intertwined. There has to be, even if you walk. I'm not talking about to go gym every single day or run a marathon or stuff like that. I'm just saying like a 15-20 minute brisk walk every day will make you feel 10 times better. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously it has to be a part of a bigger picture. It's not going to solve your problems or anything like that, but it definitely makes you feel good. So that was the big common thing that I saw online. Exercise will help improve your mental health. And then I was trying to figure out ways, what sort of exercises do I like? What do I enjoy doing? And walking was something I'd always done, but I didn't think about it as something to help me. It was always get to A to B. I never enjoyed the journey there. Like it was autopilot, you know what I mean? But yeah, and I decided to start walking loads. Obviously, that's obviously what's happened with the group and stuff like that. We've sort of combined those two environments, a safe, non-judgmental, positive environment, with an element of exercise. Even though some people probably think, their definition of exercise is going down to the gym, running loads and things like that. You put those together at the end of the walk, you've had two really meaningful, great conversations. You've done 3 miles worth of walking. All of a sudden, your brain just popping full of positivity. Do you know what I mean? It's just a win-win scenario for everyone. So, but like I say to people, it isn't going to solve your problems. But what it will do is it'll take you out of your mind for a moment. And that moment you're on that walk and you finish, and all that positivity is going on in your brain after doing that walk and having some great chats. You're going to make better decisions for yourself rather than you sitting indoors and just manifesting and going round and round and round and just bang your head against a brick wall. Do you know what I mean? So I always say to people that come to the groups, don't wait for the walk to do them. Do you know what I mean? Proper podcasting, go for a walk yourself. Like the walk is the walk can work on its own for you whenever you want. Do you know what I mean? Like the talk part is good, but yeah, like that's basically how I put both of them together and then come up with what we're doing now, mate.
No, it's absolutely. I have to say, mate, it's absolutely fantastic. And tell me then, so with the guys that have joined the groups now, they've obviously gotten bigger. I'd say you're in six boroughs, 8 boroughs.
Yeah, I think we're in 6 London boroughs, and we've got 7 walks a week. I'm in 5 London boroughs, sorry, and we've got 7 walks a week because 2 of them go into 1 borough each, basically.
Yeah, and obviously, look, I'm sure you've been a part of a walk in all of them or whatever. You know, not just the one that you always do, your as you call it, the original one or whatever. But so when a new guy comes along, like what's that like for him? I guess for anyone who hears this and they're thinking of coming along, walk me through the process of what it's like for somebody who doesn't know anyone on the walk, who has seen you on Facebook, who's kind of like, you know what, I'm going to be down there in Bankman tonight. I know where HMS is. I'm gonna check the lads out and go for a walk. What happens when he rocks up?
It's a very friendly environment when people come down to. So if I take you back just one more step before that, when people originally reach out, because they usually message me on social media, or they might go on the website and find what we're doing, and they're messaging me directly inquiring about the walk itself. So I would generally have a very brief and small interaction via email if they're ready to come on the walks and stuff like that straight away. They will tell me which one they want to come to. I'll give them a little bit of information about that walk, and I would inform the walk leader for that walk that so-and-so is coming down. So at least straight away, when that first person comes down, they've got a point of contact. So they're not just walking into a group of lads and it's like, all right, you here for a walk or whatever. Like, they know, I'm asking for Dan, I'm asking for James, I'm asking for Scott. So that person I know will meet and greet him straight away, introduce himself, and then generally that person will sort of take them around the group and just introduce each other and whatnot, shake hands or whatever they want to do. And it's just a real, just sort of, once they do that, it's really relaxed because they've broken down those barriers straight away. So they know why they're there. And they're at ease because every single person they see there has done exactly what that man's done. There's no one. So it ain't like a really close group of friends have come together to create this group, and then we've come down and then we're inviting strangers into it. We're all strangers until we meet in the group. Do you know what I mean? So everyone has done that first leap. So I think that's a big thing for new lads to come down. It's difficult for me to maybe answer that question because obviously I was at the very beginning of it, so I don't really know the feelings they're having at that time. But I can tell you that obviously that's the process of how they reach out to me. I'll give them information. They will come down to the group. What we did originally, and what we're going to do a lot more of now, because obviously, fast forward 2 and a bit years, or just say under 2 years, we've now formed as a community interest company. We're applying for funding and stuff like that, so I can sort of free myself more time away from my actual work to push into this. So what we've done during the lockdown is we've done one-to-one walks, because we couldn't do the group walks then. And then what we've done after that, we carried on offering the one-to-one walks, because that's a good way for people that are a little bit more nervous around a group environment. So they would basically do a walk with myself, or they'll do a walk with one of the other lads within the group. And they can just basically do just a one-to-one walk, similar to what we were doing in the group, just a one-to-one. And then they can sort of ask all the questions there that they want to ask. So then when they come to the main group, all of a sudden they can see that fella they went the one-to-one walk with. Now it's like meeting a mate, so it's a lot more relaxed. It ain't just like straight into a crazy environment. Do you know what I mean? So they're the sort of So we're going to do a lot more of those again soon, because I think a lot of lads are a bit funny about maybe going straight into a group environment. So offering that one-to-one first is a lot easier.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you know, look, coming from from a mental health perspective, right? It's always the research that's been done and everything else, like some of the statistics and that surrounding it. It generally, I think one of the themes I read before or whatever was that, you know, blokes won't normally talk until it hits a certain point, and that point is rock bottom. Do you know what I mean? Or they won't look for help, they won't ask for help or whatever like that until it gets to a really bad point. But I guess taking that first step, even to reach out to you and send you that message on Facebook, or, you know, like, let's say for argument's sake, right, you had the Evening Standard interview, right? Big spread in the paper and stuff that's seen by millions around London. I mean, you can't get on a train or a tube station at rush hour without an Evening Standard being thrown in your face a million times, right? So that would have got you guys a lot of exposure, obviously. So if I'm reading that and I'm thinking, I'd love to do that, but for me, right, from an anxiety perspective, the thoughts of walking into a big group of strangers is terrifying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess, as you say, with doing those one-to-one walks, makes that first hard step that little bit easier, and then the next step into the group is that a bit easier again then for those kind of guys. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, that's happened. Well, obviously, that was what we done when we originally started the group, and I had a lot more time on my hands because I didn't have the work at the time, so we was able to do a lot more of that. And it's something that we haven't done for a little while, but obviously now things are changing this year. That's definitely something we want to reintroduce because the biggest thing is time, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just not enough time, so we really have to sort of manage it a lot better. And definitely, one-to-ones are something that I definitely want to bring back, but just for a short period of time. Because the issue with that as well is some people might become reliant on that. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, I guess essentially a one-man band to a certain degree. I do have a lot of lads that I can rely on and support on. But they've got jobs where some of them work 13, 14 hours a day, and then they come to a walk. They can't do one-to-one walks around whatever time schedule they've got. So it's really difficult to try and fit them in. But I think it's definitely something that we're looking to this year to try and implement, even if it's just 1 day a week, a couple of slots, and just slowly introduce it potentially. Because it's, like you said, it's a great way for people to get involved if they're really anxious about getting involved in something like this in a group environment.
Yeah, and I could say, like, as I said, from my perspective, I would be, because I'm like that when if it's a group of people I don't know or strangers or whatever, I'm like scratching, and I'm, I can feel the hives coming on, sort of thing, like just getting all anxious and itchy about it. So being able to make, if I've already spoken to you through Messenger or on Facebook or whatever, and I go, right, well, I'll go for a walk with Scott for 20 minutes and see how that goes. And then if that doesn't kill me, then cool, I might go and join the bigger walk or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But that's an absolutely incredible idea. Yeah, it's brilliant. And so what? So you've set it up as a community company now. What's the big goal for the Proper Blokes Club? What's the dream with it? Like where does it go?
So obviously we're London based at the moment. I think there is, off the top of my head, 32 London boroughs. I'll probably be correct on that. It's 32 or 35, one of the two. And the idea was potentially have one in every borough over the next 2 to 3 years. But what's happened is, like, the exposure we've been getting from, like, we had one in the Metro, the Guardian, the Standard, like, we had them all come at quite short notice. Like, it really just happened really quickly. And that gives us national exposure, and obviously
for sure,
social media does as well. Like, it gives you global exposure. I've had people from all over the place like talking about how it's helped them. But what we've had a lot of is there one in Manchester? Is there one in Newcastle? Is there one in Edinburgh? Is there one in Brighton? And my normal head would say, not yet, but we're starting one tomorrow. Let's go. Let's do it. Do you know what I mean? But I really need to take a step back and because I get a bit excited with it, and I think, like, it's got to go everywhere really quickly. And we all know what happens when we do 100 things at once. It's not fully committed anywhere, and it'll fall apart, and then you're just back in a real hole. So I'm trying to do things a lot calmer these days, and I've got a support network around me where when they can see me getting a little bit excited, they're like, Scott, great ideas, but let's do this one first. And then
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I guess and I guess you've got to be quite careful as well in that, like, careful in the sense of, if you just have some random lad message you from Newcastle or Liverpool or wherever it is around the UK and said, I want to, can I set one up here? You got to be like, well, who are you? Do you know what I mean? I guess, does there have to be a vetting process involved? Like, what I guess is the procedure for setting up a new group in a new area?
So what we've done so far since we've done, it's just based on trust, really. A lot of the lads, obviously, we've only recently become official. So it's just basically what I'm seeing over a period of time from an individual that I know that's sort of mirroring what I want from the group. And there's been no issues. Obviously, you get some people it doesn't work out for, and they want to find something more suitable for them, or go and reach more professional support that they probably need. But I can only take a man for his word at the moment, and that's worked so far. But I think as we grow, that problem may arise a bit more, where I need to find out what we potentially need legally in place for certain things. Because I'm very open about what, because it's a bit weird, because I put a post out today actually about, I don't know if you saw it, about we ain't a crisis support
I was
group.
just going to bring that up actually, the peer-to-peer network. Yeah.
So it's just everyday lads that, and I said in a post what sort of scenarios they would be in. We can't deal with people with any sort of severe mental health illnesses because we're not equipped to do that. We can't do anyone that needs support within the community. Basically, you need to be able to get there, do it, come home on your own accord, and be responsible for yourself while you go around. Because I can't, like, if someone comes as quite vulnerable in the sense of where he's got severe issues, and all of a sudden that's all the other lads' focus. They might be there, they're there to just have a chat because they've had a bad day at work. Do you know what I mean? So very, very rarely do we have anyone that comes through that it's a bit too much for. But those guys that have come through the door and it hasn't worked out for them because they need that more professional support, they tend to go quite quickly because it's not an appropriate environment for them. And that ain't us pushing or doing anything. Sort of clock on that self on themselves. Sorry.
But as you say, it's almost like it's like a horses for courses scenario, really, isn't it? Like, there's going to be lads who will think, you know what, that's a great idea, and they'll rock up and they'll go on a walk, and then, as you said, they kind of like, actually, nah, this isn't for me. I'm looking for that, or I'm looking for this, or maybe I need, as you say, more professional help, or I need a counselor specifically, or I need, you can kind of only do what you guys are doing, and then if people are receptive to it, then they're receptive to it,
we always push people towards, like, if they're in some sort of crisis, then we always push them towards the guys like Samaritans that are trained to deal with that scenario. For severe issues, just the emergency services, that's what they're there for those severe situations. You know what I mean? But definitely more established organisations and ones more to equip to it, we're really eager to get involved with those guys to say, look, if someone comes through the door that you guys could help more, then we will get them through that door rather than us. Because I don't want them to come and then, oh, this ain't for me, or something's really bad, or they can't help me, and then go, and then they just disappear off the face of the earth. I'd rather them come in and say, this is not for me, but do you have any extra support maybe somewhere else? And I can say, look, we have X, Y, Z. Go that route there.
There you go. So, yeah. And look, that's all you can do really at the end of the day with it. Do you know what I mean? Like I think the group that you're doing is incredible. Like, I'm trying to remember when it was I first reached out. It was probably October time, I think, November time. I think when I first reached out, and that was because of social media. I actually think it was actually my wife. Now that I think of it, she had sent me a screenshot of it was either the Metro one or the Guardian one. It was one or the other, or the Evening Standard. It was one or the other. Because obviously, again, as I said, look, we've lots of friends still living in London and stuff. She had seen it, and my wife had kind of looked at it and went, Matt will be interested in that, sent it to me, and I'm like, this is fucking genius. This is a great idea. So I started following you obviously now, and I kind of up to date on the post, and I see all the pictures that go up every day and the group shots that go up from the different walks and everything. And I honestly, I just think it's incredible, mate. I think it's well overdue. Absolutely. I think, without trying to put it down, it's something so simple that's so effective. You know what I mean? That, it could have been done 20, 30 years ago and helped so many people out in the past. But obviously, look, you went through your journey through your life and the stuff that, personally, your road that you went down, and it brought you out the other side of it. And now look what you're achieving because of that. You know what I mean?
To be fair, there's a lot of there's a lot of good organisations that are already out there that are supporting.
For sure,
them. But I think the reason why our one's done so well so far is because I don't think they've found a suitable activity for those guys to do. Now, for example, like for myself, the reason why I set up a walk and talk group, so I wanted to be outside, the benefits of being outside, walking, the exercise, blah, blah. I knew that could help other people. Now, the more traditional ones would be sitting in a group scenario, like we spoke about before, with for myself, and it's not for everybody. Obviously, it works, and it has worked for a lot of people. If I went into that scenario there and I felt quite vulnerable and I wanted to talk about something, and all of a sudden 20 eyes are staring at me when I'm about to say my like something that's really on my mind. You get like, I can't imagine like a worse scenario for myself. It works for other people, but for myself to be in, and I've had this conversation with a lot of lads within the group, like, why did you come to this? Like, 'cause obviously there's lots of mental health stuff out there. There's mental health football teams. There's I don't know, tennis, whatever. You could do anything with it, but I'm not seeing many men only walk and talk groups like this. So I think because walking such an entry level exercise and it near enough covers everybody. I think that's why it become a bit more better, because do I want to run and talk at the same time? No. Am I going to be talking while I'm playing football other than the tactical information I'm putting on the pitch? I'm not going to be a centre-back saying, I feel rough today, to the other centre-back, the other team goes and scores a goal. Then all of a sudden we're having an argument. It's backwards. Do you know what I mean? But that's a joke. Obviously, I know they talked after before, but
no, for sure.
But
no, you're right. You're right, though, in that sense.
You got
No, I mean, look, you're right in that sense. There are loads of different groups out there that do stuff like that. Like, and even as you mentioned the football, and something popped into my head there. There's a guy here, and his name escapes me now. But he set one up like that. It's a football run thing, and it's called Jumpers for Goalposts. And the whole point of it is. Yeah, the whole point of it is when you were a kid, you threw your jumpers down and they were the two goalposts. Do you know what I mean? And there could have been 15, 20 lads on the pitch. There was no rules. There was no ref. It was just a load of people playing football. So he'll set up these kind of big events like that, right? And you just rock up, get on, have a game of football. Now, I've two left feet. Like, I'm not playing football. I used to coach. I coached my son's team years ago, but playing it, I wouldn't be able for it. But then, like that, at the end of it, there's different. There's like the other support groups then would be there. So the Samaritans would be there, and there'd be Suicide to Survive and different charity groups then, and mental health groups would kind of be on the sidelines afterwards. And if you want to go up and talk to them, you can. If you want to just grab a leaflet, you can. Do you know what I mean? There's no pressure in that sense. But as you say, because walking is such an entry level exercise, it would obviously appeal to a lot more people who would say, no, I don't like football, or I don't like rugby, or I'm not playing basket. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is, it does open the gateway, I think, to a lot more people. And again, without trying to sound like an arsehole about it, it opens up to a lot of the older generation as well, who maybe can't run around, play a football match, who can't play tennis, or who can't, do you know what I mean? So it's definitely one to, you know, as I said, it's so simple in its form that it's just brilliant. Yeah, it really is.
I appreciate
it. So, where are you going from here then? So, as I said, look, you've got that set up. So you say you're hoping to try and get it up to what, double size by the end of this year?
Yeah, I've now put it out there. I'm gonna have to do it now, aren't I?
Yeah. And you know what the thing is, I've got this. I've just recorded it.
So you can hold me accountable now. Yeah, you can hold me accountable.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a reminder in my phone now to come back.
But yeah, no. Yeah. This time next year, Scotland the numbers doubled. So I'm planning at the moment all the new walks. So the last 2 weeks of March, the first 2 weeks of April will be the launch day for all of them. So it's going to be a big rollout of about 6 or 7 new walks over 4 weeks, which is going to be a lot. I've never done that before. Like, we've done 7 and a bit over 2 and a bit years. So doing it for 4 weeks is a lot more daunting, but I think we could do it. And I think, because I've got a slightly different approach now, how I approach the walks, and find local organisations that can bring people down to us and whatnot, and try to get more people supporting us that are like sort of like the local walk, like the councillors and MPs and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So once you get all those guys on board, they can expose us to a lot more people. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really excited about the prospect of doing them quite quickly and being successful, because to me, success would be 2 lads starting on each of these walks and starting something great around their areas. Because I always say, as long as 2 people turn up for the walk, it happens, because you've got one person to talk to. So that's how the group, that's how this organisation first ever started. That's how it started, and then it's blossomed from there. So if you have 2 lads that are committed to their area and they go out every single week, because I'll do all the stuff behind the scenes, I'll post it everywhere, I'll plug it everywhere. 100%. Once they see that first photo, then there'll be someone else next week, because a flyer is a flyer. But then once you have a picture of 2 men actually doing the activity, now it's real. So it's going to be a really good year, and we're going to help a lot more lads this year. And obviously, it ain't a case of where we start 6 or 7 new walks and we neglect the ones we already got. Them ones will also grow as well, organically, like they've been doing. But then also with the sort of push that I've been doing behind the scenes, and a lot of the lads are on the walks that are really committed to helping them, helping push their local walks as well. So all the walks will grow. We'll reach a lot more people. So say we're around nearly 200 now, just over 200. Can we do 300, 400, 500 lads by the end of this year? I think we can. And that'd be absolutely amazing. And that'd take us to a whole new level. And obviously we spoke about this earlier. We're going to be launching our very own podcast. So hopefully I have you on there this time. You can come to my one.
Be nice to be a guest on one.
So that'd be cool. No, definitely. It's because the thing is, though, like when we had this conversation before we came on, the reach that you have, even just from podcasts. So say, for instance, I don't like going on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not going to search it on websites, but I love podcasts. I type mental health podcasts in there, or whatever it may be. My one comes up. They never knew the walk existed because they didn't want to look anywhere else, and they're not on any social media. Bosh, we've reached a new lad because of it. Then it's worked. Do you know what I mean? So we're trying to figure out different ways this year to promote it to different types of people that are not the traditional ones that we're getting through social media. So I'll be feet on the ground, handing out flyers directly, to putting the podcast on here and reaching a lot more people that way as well. So I'm comfortable the numbers are going to grow quite large this year. And and go back to your question a little bit earlier as well, like where do we see it going? I think it might go to a big city round the country sooner rather than later. I think it'll be before we get all the London boroughs. It could be the end of this year, it could be next year, but it's definitely something that I think I could put a pin on a map anywhere in this country and it could work. I'm that confident in it, because there's a group of lads there that need it. So
absolutely,
wherever we do it, it'll take off. But we're going to go big this year, and we're definitely going to be helping so many more people as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, mate, all I can do is thank you for coming on, for having the chat. I've really appreciated it. I've enjoyed it, and I take the proverbial hat off to you and congratulate you on everything that you've done. It's absolutely incredible. It really is. And I wish you nothing but the very best of success with it going forward.
No, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
No bothers. And folks, you guys listening, if you want to have a look, I'm actually going to pin it to the top of the Anxious Lad page as a featured post. There was a post I put up yesterday or the day before. Obviously mainly for the guys, for any of the Anxious Lad listeners who are in London, any of my friends, personal friends that are in London. If you're looking to go for a walk, if you're looking to reach out to Scott and the lads, not Luke, Scott and the lads.
Or is it Luke? I don't know.
It was one of those. I got your message, and after putting it up, he's like, "Who's Luke?" I went, "Oh shit!" So the post was edited. Scott went back. But the post is there. It's pinned at the top of the Facebook page. Contact details. The Proper Blokes Club. They're on Facebook. All the rest of it. Reach out to Scott and the lads if you're looking for somewhere to get out and go for a walk and have a chat with some like-minded people and just some normal lads, some normal blokes. Dude, I wish you the very best of luck. Thanks a million for coming on.
Oh, thanks so much, mate. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.